You've seen Dan in operation quite a bit today, but I have to say that this meeting would not have really been anywhere near as effective, not even half as effective as it has been, if it hadn't been for Dan Happel's volunteering, his effort, his contacts, his energy, and his follow-up. He calls everybody, and then he calls me and says, "Have you done your part yet?" And I say, "What part?" And he says, then he reminds me. So he's the guy that really is responsible for this meeting. And I know you're going to enjoy this.
Well, right off the bat, I'm borrowing a screen from Michael Shaw. Michael and I are good friends. We've worked together with Agenda 21 for years in Montana in the Northwest. And in any case, I start this because I want to show people where we're at as a country and why we need to do what we're going to do. This is a philosophy of rights, and it shows the difference between individual rights under our Declaration of Independence and under the UN Declaration of Human Rights. There's quite a difference there. Government's not reason, it's not eloquent. It is force, and like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. That's George Washington. Another quote by Daniel Webster: "Good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of power. It is hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions." There are those men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they do mean to govern. They promise to be good masters, but they mean to be your masters. And this is a quote by James Paul Warburg, the son of Paul Warburg, who is mentioned in Mr. Griffin's book, Creature from Jekyll Island. Paul Warburg, the gentleman that we refer to, was one of the architects of the Federal Reserve System. This is a quote in 1950 before the U.S. Senate. "We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or consent." And the second one under that is Rowan Gaither, the president of the Ford Foundation in 1954. He was a CFR member, and at one time he was the president, the chairman of the CFR. "We operate here under directives that emanate from the White House. The substance of the directives under which we operate is that we shall use our grant-making power to alter life in the United States so that we can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union." You wonder where all these federal grants come from that are used in every single state to buy off our state legislators and our county commissioners? This is where these grants come from. This is a report on global governance. It's 2010, and it was directed to President Obama. And you'll note in here that the people that sponsored this are the G20, the International Monetary Fund, and the UN. And it basically says we've got to hurry because people are starting to wake up, and we won't have global governance by 2025 unless we start implementing policies now. And this is a quote by Mikhail Gorbachev. It's quoted in the special report, The Wildlands Project's War on Mankind. "The threat of environmental crisis will be the international disaster key that will unlock the New World Order." And this is Christiana Figueres, who is the executive director to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change at the Doha, Qatar meeting in 2012. "It must be understood that what is occurring here, not just in Doha, but in the whole climate change process, is a complete transformation of the economic structure of the world. A centralized, let's say Sovietized, transformation that is going to make the life of everyone on the planet very different." And this is a quote by David Rockefeller from his memoirs. "Some even believe we're part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists." and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it. And this is a picture of students that are marching. They were part of the march to promote Occupy Wall Street. Capitalism is organized crime, and various signs like that. Our kids are being indoctrinated in our universities to become Soviets. And this is Arab Spring, and it shows a hammer and sickle. And understand one thing: the Sovietism of the Middle East and the Arab Spring are extremely closely tied together as allies against us. This is the last quote I've got. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promise of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during those years. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determined practice in past centuries. That national auto-determination is our Constitution, Bill of Rights, and our Declaration of Independence. And that was just before the climate change conference in Rio de Janeiro, Agenda 21. Okay, so we have to understand one thing. We are in a life or death battle for the soul of our nation. We have no choice. If we don't fight the battle, no one will. We're the last line. We need to be the people that have the guts and the stamina to stand up and do what's necessary. Understand this. We have at best, and I say 10 to 15 because it's hard to estimate how much time we have. In truth, I don't think it's anywhere close to that much time. But we have at best 15 to 20 years to restore our way of life. We should be willing to give our lives to save our nation for future generations. And I go back to that thin gray line. I got that from the New York Police Department. The thin blue line, well, we're the thin gray line. Read, learn, and study, then teach and share with others. You never know when you might plant the seed of liberty with the next George Washington. He may be in this room. Network, network, network. You cannot network enough. Everything you do and everyone that you associate with, you will expand your sphere of influence if you do a good job. Seek the support of high-profile people that understand our dilemma and share your beliefs. Form coalitions with real leaders. You can't imagine the amount of people that I have dealt with over the last 10 years, and some of them are the highest-ranking military people in our country. They get it. They understand what we're talking about. They understand that we have a real problem. We may not agree on every single thing, but our problem is, as conservatives, we can agree on 80% of the philosophical or the political items and disagree on 20, and we're so damn busy fighting over the 20% instead of trying to make that 80% work. Our opposition, the liberals, can agree on 20% and disagree on 80, and they get it done because they work together on the 20%. We have been going through this process for 100 years. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's not going to happen at all unless we participate. Be bold in meeting new people and be sincere, reasonable, and rational in your speech. You know, when they attack you and call you a wacko, know your facts and figures, and that way it's irrefutable. And read, learn, and understand. Do the study that's necessary to be very smart about what you say. Don't allow your ego to take over. This battle is not about you. It's about our nation. We can't let this become personal. The lesson to be learned from the Trump phenomenon, and I'm not a big Trump fan, but I'm telling you, that there is a phenomenon here. People are sick of the Marxist dogma, and they are sick of political correctness. They thirst for truth and are ready to listen. This is the first time in my lifetime I can say that and really, truly believe that. I mean, we have seen a sea change in attitudes in the last 2 years. Use the generation gap to your advantage. There's a lot of gray hair in this room. Kids don't listen to their parents, but they'll listen to their grandparents. I've got grandkids. Their folks don't know anything, but I'm grandpa, and they trust me. And I've had my grandkids to my Agenda 21 programs. They've sat right through the programs. These kids are thirsting for someone to lead them into a future that they know they will have a good future, not a bad future. Young people are there to listen and learn and earn the respect that they will follow. That's what you need to do. Use technology and the internet to your advantage. It's potentially the greatest tool to advance liberty in the history of the world. That was something that was brought up by Dan. We haven't even begun to tap the technology that we have access to. The internet is a phenomenal tool, and we can win this war if we just start to use it in the right ways. What makes us different than our opponents, and we had a great discussion about this, Debbie Gossabalupi and I had a good discussion last night, so did Michael Shaw. What makes us different than our opponents? We believe in absolute truth, and they believe in moral relativism. They can change the circumstances and the laws for whatever circumstance works for them to be politically expedient. We believe in absolute truth. That is a huge difference because we've got God on our side. They don't. Liars don't do well when it comes to standing up before their maker. Absolute truth requires commitment and a passion for liberty that people can see and feel. One of the great things that I take pride in is that people don't ever question or don't ever doubt where I'm coming from. And it's because I have a passion in my heart and a burning fire in my belly to make sure that we leave a country worth leaving to our kids and our grandkids. You will always impact people in ways that may not be readily apparent for years, but will nevertheless change the political climate in your community forever. All you have to do is convince one person that you've got the right idea. They will convince another one person. This thing will grow exponentially. We are winning the war, whether we realize it or not. We just started very, very, very late. We need to stay in this battle. The youth will save our nation if we give them the tools and the guidance to be leaders. We need to help them, and the only ones that can do that are the people that are here and people like us that stand for liberty and understand what our founding fathers understood about freedom and natural law. So what can I do? Well, you can recruit and elect public officials that understand their duty to serve and to protect the citizens they represent. It isn't just a matter of doing what you think the citizens want. You've also got to stand by what our constitutional system is designed to do, and that's to support the Constitution and freedom. Under the Constitution, local and state government should be the most representative of individual citizens. You guys can make a huge difference if you get involved with local government. The reason that we've lost so many of our rights is because we've sat on our backsides and allowed everyone else to do the heavy lifting. Bill talked about that earlier today. He who shows up wins. Start showing up. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. It's just that simple. Read, learn, educate yourself, and become teachers of others. Knowledge is power, and ignorance is not bliss. It's just ignorance. And if it's allowed to go on long enough, it becomes stupidity. Don't be stupid. Never, never, never give up. Accept the responsibility, and I'm doing a little plug for Bill's book here. You may be the last best hope to restore our nation, and I really recommend you buy this book. Go to Amazon and buy this book. You will not regret it, and it makes a wonderful Christmas gift. It's an easy read. Anybody can read it in a matter of a few hours. Join groups that you may not always support, but know that you may also be able to change them from within. I'm a member of so many different groups, including the Southwest Regional BLM RAC group, Regional Resource Advisory Council for the BLM in Montana. And I bring speakers to that thing that wouldn't be there in any way, shape, or form unless I was there. So you can do it. You can make a difference. And this is, I'm going to wrap it up here. Samuel Adams, 1776. If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. That's a challenge to you. And I know there's a few folks in here that aren't Ronald Reagan fans, but he did some great quotes, and this is one of them. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. Remember, when the Roman Empire fell, we had the Dark Ages, and it was not something that advanced our culture or civilization. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us that we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done, and we need to do that. And this is great. Edward Everett Hale, he was the scribe, I want to say, secretary for the Senate in 1903. He was Nathan Hale's great-great-grandson. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I should do, and with the help of God, I will do. What a wonderful quote. And this is another one that's been variously attributed to John Adams and Benjamin Franklin. I can't track it down. Those who fail to participate in representative government are destined to be led by their inferiors. And isn't that the truth? Okay, thank you. And that's my presentation. And after this, I'll be happy to answer questions.